Hello. What's up, world? Hi, Jenny.
Hey,
How's it going?
it's going great.
We've already talked like a lot before.
I know.
We saved all the chit chat for ourselves. Sorry.
I know. We're like talking about the episode, and we're like, damn, we should have this recording.
Yeah.
But
How's your week's been?
busy. Pretty excited. Been in the studio all week, and for the past 2 weeks, been there all week tracking bands. That's why it didn't go to NAMM.
I know.
I missed out.
You. I don't. I'll share about that a little bit more, but we did miss you. I think if you went last year, I don't think you missed out too much. But check out our shorter episode about that.
Okay, I'll check it out. I'll check out the NAMM episode.
But yeah, that's cool. I know you've been fucking in the studio like
insane. Going in at 9 a.m. and probably leaving around 10 p.m. Which sounds, they're not overnight sessions, but just imagine tracking the entire day. And then finally getting to 10 p.m., you're like, okay, great. Now I have to be here tomorrow at 9 a.m. again.
Yeah, it's a little different when, I don't know, something about overnight sessions kind of like make it feel like not as long.
Mm-hmm.
Cause like
you might go in later. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
at 5.
I'll sleep when I get home.
Yeah.
It's like, especially when you're obligated to come back the next day at like 9 a.m., it does feel like really heavy.
Right.
So yeah, kudos to you.
I've been having a lot of fun because I haven't tracked consistently with a band, different people, in a long time. It's been, before this has just been hip hop.
Yeah.
Singer, songwriter, that's it. But this past 2 weeks have been like grilling me on like using different amps, using different mics, DIs, and drums and different keyboards, and that's pretty insane. Now I've gotten a feel of like why certain bands use certain guitar amps, because of they want that certain sound, and that's their sound. Their sound is more like, I don't know, like slow Sublime, or I see why they use the Marshall, because they want to get that like vintage rock sound, But every day has been different. Learning experience.
Keep you on your toes.
Yes.
That's cool. I can't wait to hear it all. I'm sure it's gonna sound really dope.
It's gonna sound, there's some crazy ass songs that I'm just like, I can't wait till they're mixed.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. I'm really excited for that. Cool. Yeah, I've been on the slower end. I have been just working from home, mastering, mixing. I have some really amazing clients that I'm just like, I've been thinking about it lately, and I'm just like, man, I am so lucky to have clients that like come back to me after years of like working with each other, and that's just been like filling my weeks, is just like those return clients, really easy to work with. So I just very grateful for those relationships. And mom life as always. Sleep regression. I've been up since 3 a.m. this morning, so we are killing it.
Yeah.
But that's it. Nothing too insane.
Yeah.
Which I've been learning to appreciate more. I think I used to be so hard on myself when I had like slow weeks.
Right.
And then like now, especially like because I don't sleep as much, I'm like, okay, I get to breathe for a little bit.
Tell me about it. There's been times where this past week I'm like, damn, can I get like one day off? Just one, like to reset my mind, because you want to treat, when you go in a session on Monday, you're like, hey, welcome, are you excited? We're all excited. And then Tuesday comes around, you're like, hey, and then Wednesday comes around, you're like, what's up? And it's like different clients. You want to treat them with the same like energy. And then Friday comes around, you're like, hey,
so what are we recording?
So I got this set up, and it's like, it sucks, but if I'm pretty sure if I would have gotten a day off in between, I can come back with that same energy and be like, hey, what's up? Welcome. Are you excited?
Yeah. So definitely being super appreciative of like a little bit of these slower moments that I'm having, because then life hits you and you get thrown in the hot seat, and that is exactly what we were talking about today. Is, I know, what a beautiful transition. We are talking about like preparing yourself to get thrown in the hot seat. A lot of the times, like the big breaks or those moments that give us those opportunities are because someone called you last minute, someone booked you last minute for a mix, and things need to happen ASAP. You have to get to a session ASAP and be ready to like show off your skills, your talents. So yeah, that is exactly what we are going to dive into today. And
I'm super excited.
Yeah, I would actually love for you to start because especially we were talking before we started recording about recording different bands and how you kind of every day was being thrown into the hot seat. It's not like, this big opportunity came and I was ready. It's like, no, every morning, 9 a.m., you had to be ready to go. So like, what did you find helped you the most?
Usually we send out, because the studio has like a sheet with all the equipment. So they obviously get it like a week before or 2 weeks. So it's kind of cool to get a response back saying like, this is what we're going to need. We're going to need this guitar and we're going to need this amp and we're going to use these pedals. So I look at that email and I'm just like, great, let me pull all those things out in front, lay them out, plug them up and get them ready. So when they do come in, all they have to do is plug in and go. Another thing is that we have a set template at the studio. And what's cool about that is that everything in the live room, whether it's drums, piano, or everything, basically guitar, because everything has its own station, bass, guitar, piano, keyboards, drums, everything's already routed through the console, so we don't have to set up any mics.
Nice.
So I'm already prepared in advance. Now, if they do send me some stems or a tempo that they mapped out on Pro Tools, then I have to set that up before they come in.
Right.
So when they do send that, that's great because I'm prepared and I know what song we're going to work on. But there's sometimes where I have no idea. They didn't look over the gear list. Yeah. They didn't send any session. So I'm just like, okay, we're just going to work off the template we have and see what they're going to come with, you know. But yeah, usually the template and a gear list kind of sets me to a ready mode when they come in.
Yeah, that reminds me, when I was in grad school, we had like a similar thing. I worked at the recording studio. It was 5 of us that would rotate shifts, but it was open to the film scoring students. It was open to the jazz students, anyone that was like a singer-songwriter. But especially for the jazz bands, like we would have to send out equipment lists. Most of the time they would respond, but sometimes they wouldn't. But based off the equipment list, then we can, set up the night before, at least like lay everything out so they just would have to come in, plug and play. Right. We could do a mic check, scratch test, all of that. And then having like an IO printed out, like, okay, I know that the guitar is going in channel 6 and it's going through the Neve. So if anything, like, we're getting noise, like I know exactly where to look at on the board or where to look at on the patch bay or something. So that was helpful. But something you touched on is templates. Like that is key for preparedness for both recording sessions and mixing sessions. Yeah. For recording sessions, like have a template for if you're working like with rap, like that's going to be something different than when you're working with a band.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's harder to have a set template for a band, for example, because you just don't know what each band's going to need.
Exactly.
But if you work at a studio, for example, then you know exactly like different setups you could have. Yeah. And you can just have those like tracks active or deactivated in your session so that you can just pull them up quickly. Like, hey, we brought 2 synths. I already have 2 synths in my template. Let me just bring those in. So that's really key for recording sessions. Same with like mixing. If someone books you like last minute for mix session, they really like need it within 2 days or something. Having your mix template already like ready to go saves you the hassle of like having to start from scratch every single time. And by template, I don't mean like you're just sending everything through the same EQ, the same compressor. We do not do that. I just mean like something that saves you on like routing.
Right. Yeah. I have a mixing template and I do have like a section where I'm like, this is what I use on drums, but at least 95% of the time they're inactive, and I just looked just to get an idea of like, okay, I usually use on a kick. I use I don't know, a Dynamic 3 from like Pro Tools stock plugin, and I just kind of, that's how I get an idea. But I rarely use that exact same combo of like plugins. So that's how kind of my mix template is. I do have tracks out there with plugins. That's like my chain, but I never use that.
Yeah, mine are always inactive. They're just there to like start.
Yeah, like an idea.
Yeah, so I can get an idea. Like, do I want to do like de-icing first, or like just like an idea? But it's really for me is like routing, so that I know that I already have my auxes made for kick, snare, background vocals, and I can just send those stems to those auxes, and then get everything ready to go. So that's important for both recording, for mixing. Definitely prepares you for that moment of that call. Like
that call, and it like not wasting time trying to route or remake a template, which is like the craziest thing ever, especially during a session. Trying to remake or make a template while like the client is in there, it's definitely a no. Like, you should have your templates pre-saved somewhere on your hard drive, or I heard you have them on your Google Drive.
My Google Drive,
really
just in
smart.
case. Yeah,
just
so in case,
I have them in my,
I have on the hard drive too, but hard drive, I have them in my downloads folder.
That's dope.
Just in case. But even when you're doing like a session with a band, right? Let's say you're doing a couple tracks. As soon as you finish that first song, that's now going to be that template for the rest of the day. Like, don't try to like restart it. Yeah. If you're recording into different sessions as opposed to just one session with all the songs. But now save it. If they come back the next day, like, you have something to start with, and you're saving all that time. Yeah. So I would recommend making that a habit. It's not even with bands, just like certain artists, like, and it makes them feel special too. Like, if they come back, like, oh, I already got a template saved for you. So
yeah, especially if they have like, oh, give me the telephone effect all the time. Yeah, you have that like saved inactive on the side. So when they have like, when they come in, you already, you just kind of slide it over and you're like, all right, I'm ready. And they're like, oh, you're so fast. You're like, yeah, I'm just prepared.
Something else to consider when you're an intern especially is to really, really learn the room that you're working out of, learn the patch bay, learn the console, learn the cables, the good cables. There's good cables, and then there's like the faulty cables that you only use for emergency. Right. Same with the microphones, the reliable ones, and maybe you have some that are like not so dependable. Like, know exactly what is the, like, just everything.
Yeah. Knowing the room from, like, I know there's situations where there's certain studios that if the fire alarm goes off, the studio speakers shut off, and you have to exit the building, right? Emergency, right? So this did happen one time at the studio, and nobody told me that the speakers were gonna cut out. I just saw the fire alarm. I'm like, okay, maybe we're so used to like seeing fire alarms. At least I am.
And ignoring them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, ignoring them.
But no, this building had like a whole procedure of like, you got to walk out, meet here, So we walk out. People are like, you guys need to like leave the facility or whatever. So we walk out of the studios. They have huge gates that come down, and they're like fire prevented or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So they come down, and I'm like, yo, I forgot my hard drive in there. Idiot. But I'm like, there's no fire, obviously. So that's what I thought in my head. Yeah. But yeah, always remember your hard drive. But I forgot it in there. My whole computer, not because I didn't think it was a fire. But once I saw those big ass gates, I was like, yo, this is serious. But apparently, like, those gates prevent from fire going in. So I don't know. I'm like, maybe my hard drive is safe. But other than that, we walk out. We go back. Once everything's over, we go back in the studio. Speakers won't turn on. They're just like clearly muted. You see like levels going on, Pro Tools and everything. Everything's normal, but the speakers won't turn on. I'm like, what the hell? And then I had a client. So I was like, damn, nobody told me that if this happens, this is how you fix it. Right. So all I did is just reset the like speakers, like turn them on, turn them off. And it worked. But if somebody would have told me, I would have it took me some time to like figure that out, but if somebody would have told me, I would have done it instantly,
Yeah, we're so used to, especially like as an intern, like everything working perfectly because you come in, you press play, and audio comes out of the speakers. The microphone might already be set up because it's always set up. But then there's like the situation where
the little things.
Yeah, something might, like the Wi-Fi, you turn it on or off. Like if it freaks up the whole system, and you don't know that until you're in that situation, and then you look dumb. Yeah, because you're just like, I don't know what's happening. Yeah, it's like something like, oh, I just had to reset the speakers. It's embarrassing.
Yeah. So just staying alert, and like that's when you have downtime as an engineer or intern or whatever. Trace back those like small steps that you can like know how to turn things on, know how to like why certain things are turned on a certain like 1, 2, 3, 4 way. Even like just like the little things.
Yeah. Get like, honestly,
scope the room, like learn where cables are going.
Intern or there's an assistant, like have them like do something where they mess it up so it's not perfect, and then you have to figure out like where in the chain something's wrong. Like keep practicing that because knowing how to fix things in the moment of a session will keep you getting sessions for sure.
Elevating you, getting you upgraded.
People will take you seriously. So definitely something also to prepare for hot seat moments. And I think I was also, because I know I'm switching between like recording preparedness and mixing preparedness. Recording your friends, really important. Recording yourself, really important. It's so much different than when you just have a session template, but you don't like actually use it. You have to practice it.
A session template for recording your friends. I think the best way I used a friend during a session is learning how to save their sessions organized wise, like having a name and then saving them, because I used to save stuff by date, but now like dates don't matter to me, at least in my session. I guess the takes we did, if we left it open verse, or it's a full, or it's a rough, stuff like that. Like I learned how to organize my folders working with like friends. Yeah,
that's important, because when you're doing file transfers at the end of the session, like you just want, like by the end of the session everyone just wants to go home and get the hell out, so like you don't want to hold people up, so very important. And lastly, mixing workflow note is like already having a system for when you're doing prints.
The deliverables.
Deliverables. Whether, I know a lot of people are using like Bounce Factory now, whether you have an assistant, whether you're doing it yourself, like you should have it like an assembly line. So you're not wasting time like figuring out, okay, if I mute this, then I have to unmute this. And then, like little things like that, like having a system to do your cleans, having a system to do TV prints, like all of that should be really streamlined, and that you're not wasting any time. Especially if people are like waiting on you for your mix prints, like the mastering engineers waiting, because a lot of things happen last minute in this industry. And like I've definitely been in the situation where the mastering engineers in the studio just waiting for those prints, because people waited last minute, and like now it's like on you, and you just don't want to hold anybody up. So I know we keep talking about preparedness, but it really is like important in so many different aspects of this industry, whether it's recording, whether it's mixing, whether you're running sessions. There's so many different ways to prepare yourself, and we highly recommend thinking about it earlier than actually being in the situation.
Because I definitely have some stories where I wasn't prepared, but I made it happen. But I'm like, damn, like I don't want to feel, is that feeling when you're like, fuck, I'm in a moment where I'm like, I need to fix this right now, and I don't have I don't have any idea how to fix it, but my brain better work 100 times at this second, because I have to figure it out right now before I look stupid,
And people people look at you like the whole session stopped. And they're just looking at you, waiting for you to like fix something.
And usually some dumb shit where it's like something needs to be turned on, or turned off, or turned on and back on, or whatever the fuck, so you just got to be super fast at that, or know how to do small talk. I don't know. Be a good small talk. Like, hey,
So I think we can move on to tips.
Oh, True Peak tips.
Yeah, I think so.
True
I feel like I
Peak
covered.
tips. True Peak tips for preparing to get thrown in the hot seat.
Yes.
Right. I'll go first.
Okay, good.
Tip 1. I know in our last season we had episode of setting up like deliverables. Go back and tune in, because once you get into working with like either a client who is signed or has some type of connection with a record label or distribution label, they most likely will want stems. And I remember my first time when they asked for deliverables, I didn't know what that was. I had no idea, so I had to Google it. And that's how I found out. But either way, like, know what deliverables are, know how to set them up, and find a proper way to put them in a folder and label them, so when they receive that, they're like, oh, that they're always organized.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You look good. So I think that's like my first tip. Go back and listen to our episode on deliverables. And then second tip is use the off time, whether you're an engineer or intern or runner, whatever. If you have the time to go into the studio and like just kind of fiddle around with like cables and turning things off and on, do so, and don't be afraid to ask questions, because you're at a moment where you're like learning, you're able to ask questions. And then third tip is I guess, I don't know. Third tip is almost like my second tip, because it's just learning the room is so important, especially if it's a big room. I've been working at the studio for like a couple months now, but there's always some brand new, like, they have the studio I work at has so many like pedals and amps that I've never really used before, but the people coming in probably never used before, but they expect you to like learn how to turn it on and how it sounds, and describe how it's gonna work with their music. So when I have time, when there's no session, I like to plug it up and be like, oh, this is how it sounds, or this is fiddle around with a pedal and be like, oh, okay, I see why people like this pedal. So even things like that, I'll sit down and like Google things and Google the pedal and see how much it costs and stuff like that. So if you have some off time, do that to like find out information about the equipment that's in the studio and see how much it costs, because then you can figure out like why they bought that, and maybe you can figure out to like, I'm gonna make sure that stays safe because it costs $30,000. We'll take care of stuff, a certain way. But yeah, three tips right there.
Okay. First tip, I mean, it's the same for sure. It's like learn the room, learn it in a troubleshooting setting so that you can always just fix any sort of problems that arise. Number 2, I would suggest not only being comfortable with recording situations that you're familiar with, but also like maybe like the oddballs, like let's say like you mostly do one vocalist. Right. Well, are you going to be able to do one vocalist and their producer synths, and they bring in like 3-4 synths, and now you have to record all of those ideas at the same time. Right. So just try to challenge yourself a little bit more.
Yeah.
And the last one would be just constantly practice, whether it's like practicing recording, practicing ways to make your printing system a little faster. I feel like the best engineers are the ones that are always students. So if you're constantly practicing things that can help you, don't get comfortable, with what your current situation is, but like there's probably something you can fix, so practice it. Yeah. I was trying to keep it short, so I'm going to keep that like that. And yeah, thank you again for listening to True Peak Hour.
Yes, and my name is Jennifer Ortiz.
I'm Crystal Jerez, and we shall see you next time.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to True Peak Hour, hosted, recorded, edited, and produced by Crystal Jerez and Jennifer Ortiz. Be sure to follow and subscribe to our show on your favorite streaming platform. Check out our YouTube channel for additional content and stay connected with us on Instagram at True Peak Hour. For any mixing consultations, reach out to us directly or on our website at truepeakhour.com.